Remembrance of things past is not necessarily the remembrance of things as they were. This is precisely what I want to focus on in this series, as I will be playing games from my childhood to see whether they were actually good or am I just blinded by nostalgia. So my first subject is a game that was quite influential in my development, which is none other than Beyond Good and Evil. Released in 2003, Beyond Good and Evil is an action-adventure game developed and published by Ubisoft for Windows, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. In 2011, an HD version was released on Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Network, and most recently, a 20th anniversary edition brought the game to all modern platforms. We take on the role of Jade, an investigative reporter working to expose the corrupt and dangerous treatment of Hyllis' citizens at the hands of its law enforcement. The game focuses on combat, puzzle solving, stealth, and probably the most unique element, obtaining photographic evidence for Jade's reports. Despite its critical acclaim, Beyond Good and Evil sold so poorly at launch that Ubisoft started giving the game away with mozzarella cheese in Canada to try and boost sales. Yeah, for real. Prequel to the game has supposedly been in the works for over 15 years. Development has been delayed for a variety of reasons, the studio prioritizing other titles, the original director stepping down, multiple assault and abuse allegations, and the passing of the game's creative director, Emile Morel. Regardless, Ubisoft remains adamant that the prequel is still in development, though no release date is in sight. Now I want to talk a bit about my memories and experience of the game. When I first played it, I remember being completely captivated by the world. I loved Jade's design, I loved the anthropomorphic characters roaming around Hyllis, the buildings, the weird vehicles. I was absolutely obsessed with the atmosphere. And the music is exceptional. The soundtrack in this game is probably one of the most memorable parts for me, other than, well, how good the world design is. Christophe Herral composed the score. He also worked on games like Rayman Origins, Rayman Legends, Adventures of Tintin, The Secret of the Unicorn, and Beyond Good and Evil 2. It was orchestrated by Laetitia Pensenal. Sorry if I'm butchering that name. And they ate! Like probably many non-native English speakers can relate to, I didn't really understand much of the story in games as a kid. However, in Beyond Good and Evil, a lot of the time you can actually follow what's happening just through visuals. The game has this very expressive animated movie style. It makes the story feel clear and emotionally readable. On the one hand, that might make it feel a bit exaggerated or even infantilized at times. On the other hand, for players like Tiny Me, that expressiveness is what made it more accessible and easy to follow without fully understanding the language. Well, easy to follow to some extent. Little Me wasn't quite equipped to finish the whole thing, and she was more interested in exploring the somewhat open world. So I never actually completed it back then. That's part of what drove me to play this game in particular now. Not only to see if it holds up, but to finally understand what the game is really about and how it all ends. So I went right ahead and installed the game as it was already in my Steam library, only to be greeted with
La guerre est aux portes d'Illis. Une armada d'hommes s'est massée autour de cette paisible planète minière du système 4.
I still don't understand why they speak French. Now I do know there are certain fixes for the graphical part of the game, but honestly I could not be asked. For some reason I could not get to the bottom of the issue as to why my game defaulted to French. I actually went back after I beat the game to replicate the issue to get some better footage, but now it was in English for some reason.
The war has arrived at the gates of Hyllis. This peaceful mining planet in System 4 is now...
Fortunately, the 20th anniversary edition fixes all of these issues I had, so it will be smooth sailing from now on. I will be going over the story in great detail, so if you would like to avoid spoilers and just hear my thoughts and conclusion, skip to this timestamp.
The war has arrived at the gates of Hyllis. This peaceful mining planet in System 4 is now completely encircled by the Dom's armada. General Keck, Supreme Commander of the Alpha Forces, would like to take this opportunity to address a final message to the population.
Loyal Hillians, the impending battle will be a difficult one, but thanks to the Alpha Section,
They're coming. Quick, Ben, jump up. Go tell Paige. I'll take care of the shield. Go, go!
Shield activated. Shield disabled.
Your Optima account is
350.
units short. Your electrical supply has just been blocked. You gotta be joking! Thank you for understanding. Get back inside it!
Now, I have to say this intro sequence is absolutely awesome. I cannot emphasize it enough. We immediately learn a lot of things about the story and our protagonist, and it sets the premise so well. It feels very cinematic in the best way. There is a very serious conflict between the people of Hillis and the Doms. The Supreme Commander even highlights that the battle between them will be a difficult one. However, the Alpha sections are here to serve and protect. The part with Jade is also very significant as we can observe a lot of things about her with the game's show not tell approach here that I really like. She is protective, strong physically and emotionally, fearless, agile. As danger strikes, Jade stays cool-headed and takes the kid, Fan, not to be confused with the Anchorman Fan, to safety. Fan is one of the 6 children residing at the lighthouse under the guardianship of Jade and her uncle. However, as the protocol to turn on the shield fails due to an unpaid electric bill, the Doms are able to infiltrate the island and Jade has no choice but to fight the sarcophagi in order to rescue the children from being captured. The music here is absolutely stellar as well. The song we start off with is called In the Beginning. Great choice of a title. And as the fight begins, it fades into Dancing with the Doms. The 2 songs create an incredible atmosphere. In the Beginning goes through this very chill and relaxing, almost zen atmosphere to the very dramatic and serious trouble is approaching vibe. The fast pace of Dancing with the Doms is first of all another very cool title as the combat does feel very reminiscent of dancing in a way, and it also gets your blood pumping for the very first fight of the game, which, in my opinion, is also an incredible way to start off the game as the tutorial feels like it flows very naturally and connects seamlessly with the story and gameplay. We fight our way through the sarcophagi, which present no real difficulty as their movement is very easy to follow and predictable, and the children are able to successfully get to safety.
Hang on, Jade! I'm coming! Free yourself, Jade! I'll create a diversion!
However, Jade cannot catch a break as she gets dragged down by some weird alien tentacles. Jade has a one-on-one with what's called a spirit eater, and he taunts her that the prequel is never gonna come out, to which she passes out. We meet Jade's uncle, Pey'j, who is kind of this comic relief in the game. He helps Jade free herself and she receives her weapon of choice, which is a jade, if I'm saying that right. We then face the first boss of the game. The fight can be done with no issues either. We learn how to use Jade's super attack, which is very useful, as not only is it somewhat of a ranged attack, it also can damage multiple enemies at once. After the fight is done, we receive a pearl, which will usually be our reward for boss fights. Why is her neck like broken, kind of?
We're gonna be able to pay to get the hovercraft fixed with that.
Hey, Secundo, scan this for me, will ya?
Okay, Jade. Una perderamis. Bueno, Jade.
Pearl is quickly scanned by Secundo, our AI ally, who has pretty unknown origins, but from what we can observe is that he possibly has some Romance language-based origins, as he speaks English with a somewhat Italian-sounding accent, with occasional Spanish and Italian words. After the Pearl has been identified, Secundo also warns
Jade.
that he has conducted a checkup on her after the fight, which shows an anomaly inside her psycho karma. I also really like how the inventory is shown, it's really creative. The Alpha Section soldiers arrive late to the party, and Anchorman Deagler is eager to exposition dump and conduct an interview with the residents.
Here on Hillis, war has once again reared its ugly head, striking the civilian population. Luckily, our elite forces have once again arrived in the nick of time. I'm coming to you live from the Southern Lighthouse Shelter. Here is where some of the children whose parents have been captured by the Doms have been taken in by two devoted and courageous Hillians. Miss, a word for our listeners.
Yeah, well, you guys are not what I'd call as fast as a speeding bullet. Keep doing nothing, and next time, there'll be nothing left here to save.
Cut! Hey, Pop, stay zen. Don't get your snout bent out of shape. All right, boys, that's a wrap. Pack it up!
We experience the shady and deceitful behavior the press and the Alpha Sections exhibit as they are trying to portray the attack the Lighthouse experienced as a win achieved by the Alpha Section soldiers. Jade ends up being caught off guard, but Pey'j is quick to voice his dissatisfaction with the work of the law enforcement. His opinion is quickly disregarded with a chillax or else, to which Jade promptly passes out.
If it wasn't for you,
Jade! Jade! Sweet Jesus, quick, some serum! Jade!
Still haunted by the fact that Beyond Good and Evil 2 has broken the record for the longest development for a video game, Jade awakens surrounded by the kids and Wolf. Jade and pey'j discuss that the shield is still down as the bills have yet to be paid, but fortunately, Secundo informs them that the director from the science center will pay money, or units as they call them, for every picture submitted of the animals around the planet. However, pey'j doubts Secundo's plan.
Who could possibly be interested in that kind of thing? We're in the middle of a war, son.
You understand nada, bacon breath. Control of the species is mucho importante. Jade, you go get your camera back, and we'll see if Secundo has pepperoni on his processo. Ciao!
I found your camera, Jade. I put it right over there.
We get a quick tutorial on how to take pictures, and we immediately get the money transfer from the science center lady.
Hi, Jade. I see Secundo already talked to you about the job.
This will be one of our main sources of income in the game, as well as one of the key features for story progression.
Transmission received. I'll file it right away.
2 pictures, and the bills are then paid, and the electricity is back.
Electricity restored. Thank you for choosing optimal service.
Shield activated.
pey'j informs us that we should follow him to the hangar when we are ready, as he has a mission for us.
Looks like there's a mission for you.
Jade reporting. Mission M-Disc standing by.
Now, we can start roaming freely around the lighthouse. First things first, we stock up on Starcos, which is one of the main sources of healing in this game.
C'est bon, it's been digitalized.
Also, what is this? Because I always thought this was cheese. In its description, we can read that it is synthetic food, apparently some kind of bread roll. Moving on, are they also Homo sapiens?
Homo sapiens. Let them die. Save the humans.
You do not look like a Homo sapien to me. We take a few more pictures and we meet Wolf as we try to take a pack of kebabs from him. However, he manages to escape and we have to chase him down.
Cut it out, Wolf. Give that back to me. Huh. You lose, Fleabag. Now give it back.
Kebabs is the second source of healing. Main difference is Starcos only heals 1 heart of our health as opposed to Kebabs, which regenerates all of our hearts upon consumption. After successfully completing the wolf catching tutorial, I immediately get nostalgic hearing the music at the lighthouse. The song is called Hylian Safari, and it is such a fun, whimsical track that fits so well with the vibes of the lighthouse. Walking around a bit more in the building, I pick up a PA1, which adds an additional heart to my health.
Perfecto.
What? As I'm chatting with some of the kids outside, we can notice that the game does have day and night cycles. This is a very cool addition in my opinion, as each area feels alive and looks different, but equally as cool when it is night. Once I am done lollygagging, I decide to follow pey'j to the hangar.
That you, Jade?
There we see pey'j working on fixing something, and he tells us we have received a job through an M-Disc, which is like the default information sharing platform in the game. We also learn that Jade has her own photojournalism company called Jade Reporting & Co. pey'j fixes the decoder player, and we are able to play the M-Disc on it.
Perfecto.
After we insert the disc into the machine, we see that it is titled Personal Message from Mr. de Castellac.
Hello, miss. I've been commissioned by Mr. de Castellac. This war is a catastrophe for us all. Mr. de Castellac would like to entrust a very delicate mission to you. If you accept, please make your way as soon as possible to the ancient mine on Black Isle, located on the other side of town. Having completely understood the enormous risks involved, Mr. de Castellac plans to reward you.
You know this de Castellac guy?
Huh? Can't go there, Jade. Smells like a trap. It's too dangerous.
pey'j once again doubts whether this mission is legit or not, but Secundo argues that they need the money in order to be able to protect themselves from the Doms. pey'j gives in and decides to accompany Jade on the mission.
No, it's just, okay, we'll go together. But I'm sticking to you like bees on honey, whether you like it or not. Secundo, check over this computer and download a complete version of your OS. You'll be able to take a look at it, Jade. As for me, I'll try to get that stupid hovercraft up and running. Out here, otherwise this whole place will fall apart.
Secundo fixes the projector and we have the opportunity to listen to the propaganda that General... I just want to say I kept mispronouncing General Keck's name, so from now on I will be doing a voiceover whenever I say his name. General Keck preaches. I decided that I would like to skip on the brainwashing and save my game instead, which can be done at the decoder players. The one drawback that you may only have one manual save file, which I kind of fucked up in the end, but we will get to that when it is relevant. I follow pey'j to the hovercraft that needs to be fixed. I pick up some healing items for the hovercraft, booster, and we push this engine electricity thing that looks very safe, by the way, to give energy to the hovercraft. What I really like here is that we experience that our companions help us out on their own in certain situations without having to call for them or direct them to do something. It makes them feel alive in a way, like they have autonomy of their own. There will be certain times where you can have them perform specific actions on command, but we will get to that later. Now that the hovercraft is able to move at least, our first destination from the lighthouse is Mamago Garage, where they can fix up the vehicle in no time.
Oh boy, Mr. Hovercraft ain't doing too good.
Gotta hold on till we get to Mamago's. They've got what we need.
Well, that's it. Finito. Dead.
Oh, stupid tugboat! The garage is only 300
Unfortunately, the hovercraft gives in 300 meters before the entrance to Mamago, but they send us a an air towcraft to escort us to the shop.
Ancel! Hey man, what seems to be the problem? I'll go ahead and tow you to the Mamago garage. Mamago!
Yep, it's starting to smell like smoked bacon in here.
As I'm in my paparazzo era, I take a picture of this guy at the front desk.
Good work.
After a quick chat with the Rhino people, I immediately spend almost all of my money on customization, which is not necessarily the best financial decision on my part, but can't help it. Fortunately, the vehicle parts cost pearls, not units, so I go ahead and spend my one and only pearl on the Speedcraft motor. As I deposit the pearl, we can also observe this description text where it says that it is greatly appreciated as money at Mamago Garage, parentheses, black market. So now it is clear that we will only be spending our pearls at Mamago Garage, and that it is a black market.
A Speedcraft motor. No problem.
The guys install the motor in a matter of seconds, and they inform us that there will be another Dom's attack.
Don't get caught off guard.
As predicted, the second we leave Mamago Garage, the city goes into lockdown, and we face our first Teratosaurus Imperator, or a skeleton serpent thing. Yeah, skeleton serpent thing. It is quite fast and drops mines, but it is no match for our precise shot. I forgot to mention that the way you can tell how much health it has is As you can see, when you shoot at it, it loses parts of its vertebrae, and that represents the amount of health it has. Once the whole spine is broken off, it will then die. It drops a pearl upon its death, as bosses usually do. With the pearl stashed, now we are ready to go to the Black Isle. But before that, I decide to check out the racing tracks.
That the way towards the hovercraft races?
Yep, we can go if you wanna. We could make us some big money.
Honestly, the races are pretty straightforward. You go in and you race. Of course, you're competing to get the #1 spot, so nothing is off limits. You can shoot at your opponents, you can use boosts. Of course, you do receive some rewards if you place in top 3. For the 3rd place, you get 250 units. For the 2nd place, you get 500 units. And for the 1st place, you receive 1,000 units. And if it's your first time winning, a pearl as well. Little fun fact for you, Jade and pey'j compete under the alias Little Rookie. Also, pey'j yells out the names of dishes for whatever reason as we approach the finish line, probably because he has a background in cooking. This will be a reoccurring thing for him. Once again, I want to point out the music as my favorite song plays on race #2 called Salud Juanito. I really enjoy these races. However, I wish there were more, as in total there are only 4 races, meaning in this short time we completed half of all races in the game. We devoured the competition in both races back to back and received 1 pearl for each win. With both pearls secured from the races, we can finally go ahead and approach the Black Isle. Here we come face to face with the middleman of Mr. de Castellac, and he explains our mission.
Hello, Miss Jade. My employer, Mr. de Castellac, like all the inhabitants of Hillis, wish to see an end to this war. The Alpha sections claim to be pushing back the Doms, but they're hiding the truth from us. The Doms monsters have already invaded every corner of our planet. 2 specimens have been spotted at the bottom of this mine shaft. If we don't warn the population, their numbers will increase radically. Mr. de Castellac is prepared to pay a very high price to be able to defuse a picture of a pair of these monsters. This is a very risky mission, and you're free to refuse.
Well, Doms aren't exactly our best friends. Tell your boss he'll have his picture.
Jade accepts, and we get right to it. Take a picture of pey'j. Then, we reach the first section where we will be appointing our companion to help us in certain situations, such as opening this door.
No problem.
We'll find him his earthworms.
Jade, come on over here, will you? I gotta tell you something important. Now now may be a good time to show you my latest invention. 2 years of work under the utmost secrecy. The outcome of a life's work. My little marvels, the jet boots. They run on homemade biocarburant. Here's the pocket of pressurized methane. And here, in the soles, are the 2 turbo reactors. All you have to do to fire them up is contract your abdominal muscles. It's the transportation of the future. I'm waiting for your signal, Jade. Hey, what the? And there you have it.
Cool.
After a little introduction to Pey'j's boots, which is also his super action that we can trigger on command, we can make use of the scale, seesaw mechanism thing. He boosts us up, and then we can proceed.
Oh, I still had a few bugs to work out.
Don't change a thing. It's perfect.
Nice one, Jade.
In order to have access to maps in certain levels, we are prompted to take pictures of actual physical maps that will then be scanned, and we will be able to use it whenever we want. Using Pey'j's super attack will be a crucial part in solving puzzles and progressing.
Attack makes them come out of their holes.
Yep, but
Here we also learn that beating up the environment grants us materia crystals that can be instantly transferred to units.
Una materia crystal. I will transfer it to the suite to the bank. They pay mucho units for each crystal.
Moving on, we arrive at a dead end as we have no way of opening the fence. But fear not, our protagonists are keen to find a tool that can help them open it.
kind of tool shed or something.
As we are exploring the mines, we encounter another enemy type. The Krochak's Valox. We will see these guys quite a lot.
What was that?
Krochaks. There'll be more nearby, Jade. They usually attack in groups of 2 or 3. Assistant.
Another fun feature is that you can give health items to your companions who will use them as needed. That applies to PA1s, in which case their HP increases, same as for Jade.
Sweet Jesus, jellies. Oh yeah.
Arriving at the secondary shaft, we fight our way through the next set of enemies.
Just say when,
You can also use Pey'j's super action, the boot stomp, on these creatures as well, which makes it even easier to liquidate them. Once we're done, we arrive at the ancient mine, where we quickly jump the locker, and lo and behold, we find a tool.
Here, I'll leave this to the expert.
Wow! A Barocco D53
That will help
equipped with
us
cutting
open the
hammer.
dead end fence.
Oh, that's for me.
We also get a spam email from the Iris Network, the rebel group who is the main opposition against the Alpha Section and the DOMs. They are characterized as a terrorist group by the Alpha Sections. Once we have taken a couple of pictures and acquired all the loot, we are ready to head back to the fence and proceed with our mission. Absolutely repulsive.
Congratulations.
We lower some bridges, beat up some more Krochaks, and we are ready to enter the belly of the beast.
You want white or wheat toast with your omelet, Miss Grace of an Ox?
After some more fighting, and pictures of course.
I didn't realize your pliers came equipped with the club option.
Model D53, my little lady. Slices, dices, and pounds.
We finally arrive at our destination. I took a god-awful picture of our subject and the mission is complete. Or is it? We encounter the third boss of the game with the Pterolimax. We encounter the third boss of the game with the
Pterolimax.
Gigantia.
Let's go.
This boss fight is not particularly hard either. We have to use pey'j's super attack to concuss the creature and then get a few hits in. Some other mobs will then spawn, like the jellyfish or the Krochaks, and this process repeats a couple more times. There will also be a phase where the creature flies above us, puking up some green glitter, but it's pretty easy to dodge if you just stay running.
Not bad for a little girl and an old ham.
We did it, pey'j. Not bad for an old fart.
Upon his death, we of course receive a pearl.
If you ask me, there's something fishy about this Monsieur de Cadillac.
Congratulations, Miss Jade. You have...
Hold it. I got a bone to pick with your boss.
Mr. de Castellac never really existed. I think I owe you some explanations, Miss Jade. Hop in. Miss Jade, you have brilliantly succeeded your situation test.
Situation test?
Yes. Please forgive this little charade. My name is Han. I'm a member of the Iris Network.
The Iris Network? The rebel organization?
Yes, the rebellion. Fighting against a threat that no one knows exists. If nothing is done, the entire population will be destroyed.
With the help of the Alpha sections, we can push back the Doms.
The Alpha sections are not exactly what you believe them to be. They capture 10 people for every one that they save.
The Alpha sections have been defending us for years. They take care of the wounded, push back the Doms' attacks.
That's exactly how they cloud your suspicions and gain your confidence. They suck the lifeblood out of our planet exactly as they've done to hundreds of others. The Hylian government didn't have the time to react. They were completely overtaken. But we can stop the Alpha sections.
And how exactly do you propose we do that?
They are completely aware that an uprising of the population would spell catastrophe. Bring the proof of this conspiracy to the people, and victory will be ours. More than ever, Jade, the Iris Network needs people like you. Help us fight the good fight. If you decide to join us, rendezvous at the Akuda Bar. Ask for peepers. You're free to choose your side, Jade.
Did you say peepers?
Mm-hmm. At the Akuta bar. Be sure to remember the password. Safe and sound in its shell, the precious pearl is the slave of the currents.
Security measure?
Discretion is the key. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot your reward. Hope to see you soon, Miss Jade!
So, just what does Miss Jade think about all this hootenanny?
If there's a way to stop this war, we can't let it pass us by.
So not only do we get spam emails from the Iris network, we accidentally get involved with them? No worries, Han tasks us to find this peepers guy in the Akuta bar. Before leaving the Black Isle, I pick up this PA-1 and we're off. We arrive at the pedestrian district. Here we can chat with some of the locals.
Account identification, okay.
We subscribe to the available newspaper because why not? We do not get enough emails as it is. This is a reminder to subscribe to my channel if you like the video as well, please, thank you. And then we take a stroll around the district. We buy a pearl from Nori,
Account identification,
and we immediately realize that we do not have access to most of the area as we do not have the city pass that is required.
Halt! Access forbidden to non-residents. Access reserved to residents or those possessing a city pass.
So there is nothing left to do but go to the Akuta bar. The music here is once again very iconic, titled Akuta House Propaganda. It makes the bar feel very underground and rebellious. From Mo the bartender, we learn that there are fabulous treasures hidden in the crater of the volcano. He also kindly directs us to peepers. We try to chat with Seven and Rufus, but they do not seem to be very fond of us. They are also guarding a code, however it is visible if we back up a little. We can input this code in one of the lockers upstairs, where we will gain access to Rufus's stuff. We loot his stash and we go and play the pallet game with Francis. It is pretty much a standard sling puck game. We can bet units or challenge Francis to bet his pearl. So of course we are going for the pearl. My favorite song is the backtrack of the game, so I know I'm gonna eat this up. Francis gets devoured in those 2 rounds, and he kindly gives us the pearl as promised. We cannot escape the gambling, because next up we finally meet Peepers, who tells us we can try our luck at the 3 coconut Monte game.
account identification, okay.
For some reason, I decide to try the hardest one just for fun. I'm gonna be honest, it was quite difficult. I was not very sure about my guess.
Huh?
But we got it. Win is a win. We tell Peepers the magic words. And we take a W once again, granting us access to one of the lockers.
3. I'm sure you will like it. There's a beautiful old locker. I suggest you take a look at it.
We enter the code and voila! I have perfected the skill to take pictures at the most inconvenient times. But once we enter, we meet the team.
Friends, allow me to introduce you to Jade, our new agent. I was hoping you'd make it. Come closer. This is May, editing and distribution of our newspaper, Iris. Nino, radio operator, transmissions, and tireless poster sticker.
Hey.
On these screens, you can see the majority of our correspondents. They operate all over the universe for more than 13 different systems. You already know Peepers. It was his idea to offer you the job. He knew you would complete the test successfully.
You'd have to be blind not to see it. The kid's bursting with talent.
Now listen up, Jade. The events are gaining momentum. A Dom's bomb has exploded in the canal. Obviously, the Alpha sections have sealed off the sector. They've embarked everyone there.
To take care of them, right?
No hospital has received any victims, Jade. The governor of Hillis contacted us as soon as she heard the news. She's willing to help us, but her HQ is under surveillance. You can help us to save these people, Jade. Nino, give us a brief on the situation.
Here's what we know. The victims are kidnapped by Alpha Section agents. They are then taken to the Neutrophils factory. Shuttles are then used to take them to the old slaughterhouses. And from there, they are loaded into military cruisers headed for the moon.
We don't know what they're forced to suffer. None of our agents have ever returned from these cursed places. 4 days ago, we lost contact with Double H in the Neutrophils factory. He was our best agent. And friend. Double H was supposed to have brought back proof of the Dom's traffic. His last photos are terrifying.
A spirit eater.
We need someone to take over the mission, Jade. You can't refuse.
Continue.
We need proof. 1, you get inside the Neutrophils factory. 2, you take pictures of the Alpha sections and their victims. You'll be in constant contact with May. She'll broadcast your photos as quickly as she receives them. People must know the truth.
Yeah, I'd like to know too. Like who's actually telling the truth in all of this?
Here's an official city pass. We got it thanks to the governor. It will open certain doors for you. Good luck.
Now we have 2 tasks at hand: find Double H and find evidence at the factory about the Dom's shenanigans. We embark on our mission, but Han stops us.
Jade, you'll have to pick a code name to sign your articles with.
Shawnee.
We leave the Akuta bar and take advantage of our newly acquired city pass. We take a look at Ming-Su's shop, where I spent all of my money on an animal detector, pearl detector, a PA-1, and the mecha impulsor, which is a PA-1 but for the hovercraft. A vintage camera, and more customization. Ming-Su can also supply us with further issues from the Iris Network's newspaper.
Iris 511, a new wave of kidnappings in the pedestrian district. Reporter Double H. The Doms have once again struck hard at the Hillian population. Another 850 people have been reported missing since last week. The so-called protection given by the Alpha sections against the Dom's attacks is derisory at best. Iris 512, Hill is showered with Dom's meteors. Reporter Double H. The canals, the Mamago garage, and the lighthouse shelter suffered a violent attack from the Doms yesterday. The protective shields were not able to stop the Doms meteors. The Alpha sections did not arrive on the scene until after the alert. The Alpha sections are incapable of assuring the protection of Hillis.
After we have caught up on the news, we head to Mamago garage to buy pey'j some cosmetics because I might have a problem, as well as to buy the neutralizing cannon. Now we are ready to go to the factory. However, as we are leaving, there is another Dom's attack. What a coincidence!
Full alert. Shields up. Activate the protective barrier. Seal all doors.
This fight is one of my least favorite ones. It's pretty hard to consistently aim at the Dom's ships because the cannon takes a few seconds to lock onto the target and the ships are way faster. Maybe you just have to wait out the attack and not get involved. I'm not sure, but if that's the case, that is unfortunate as well because it would have been a great opportunity to try out the brand new cannon. Anyway, we head straight to the factory after the attack has ended, where we can successfully try out our new weapon on this Alpha Sections patroller. At the factory entrance, we encounter our Krochak's friends once again, and they arrive with the new face, the Vorax Nocturnus. After quickly ending them, we get an email from the Iris network telling us that the governor can get us into certain code-protected places. We check out this gate, but pey'j cannot break it open. So we shall proceed to the other side of the bridge, where we take advantage of our networking skills and get the governor to send us the code to the gate.
Yes, it's the code that we deciphered a couple of days ago. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
We pass through the fence, and pey'j tells us to be careful.
Okay, we're gonna have to keep on our toes now, Jade.
Don't worry, Uncle pey'j. We'll just take some pictures and get home.
Do a little acrobatics to get through the lasers and turn them off in order for pey'j to be able to catch up.
Hang on, Jade! I'm coming! That's not all.
We get through the electric fence.
Ha! So much for their fancy security system.
And we see the tracks of a Reaper.
A Reaper? They're sicking a Reaper on us. Looks like he's on the prowl. He must keep an eye on the ducks. It's getting too risky, Jade. We're needed back at the lighthouse. Let's stop while we still can.
If the Iris network is telling the truth, then this is where we're needed most.
We tell pey'j to try to fix up the elevator, but we are short of a fuse.
Nothing personal, Jade. Even the Vaders have been screwed with. Hang in there, old buddy. Uncle pey'j will make it all better.
You think you can fix it?
I'll give it a go, but don't be expecting any miracles. Took one heck of a jolt to the look of that cable. It's gonna be needing a new beater, too. It's up to you to find an organ donor.
A fuse. Oh, where do you expect me to find a fuse around here?
Gotta have one. He's in bad shape.
We'll have to try to look around and get into places that are actually accessible to us at the moment. So first stop, West Wing Laboratory, where we find this. Always makes me wonder in a story where there are anthropomorphic animals but normal animals as well, like how does that work? What's the lore behind it? How do anthropomorphic animals feel about the normal ones? I don't know, it raises so many questions in me, but let me know in the comments what your theories are or how you feel about them. Moving on, we get the burrow from this locker. When we try to access the elevator, we get jumped by a bunch of these mechanic insect things. These are a bit difficult at first because I didn't get like their rhythm right. After that, rest assured, they got taken care of. It's also worth mentioning how weird the AI of the companions are in combat. Just take a look at pey'j during this fight. He barely takes a few hits in. I feel like I've noticed the companions are only viable when you take advantage of their super attacks in fights. Otherwise, they mostly just run around or stand in one place. That's okay, the fights are usually not that challenging that we would not be able to handle them on our own.
No need to thank me. Your sunny smile is thanks enough.
Yeah, I'll give you a sunny smile.
Anyway, now that that's done, we can use the elevator as intended.
going?
Gonna take a look over there.
Okie doke. Looks like I'm stuck here. Be careful!
Nothing to worry about.
We meet this machine that we issue shock therapy to right away. We make way further, however the door locks behind us. Send a picture of Double H to the group chat, and we make the governor crack the code for us. We get a cool glove called the gyro disc launcher, which, as the name suggests, can launch gyro discs. It works as pull out the camera, aim and shoot. It's probably the feature I like the least. I don't know, to me it feels a bit clunky at times, especially when you can take advantage of it in combat, but that might just be a me thing. I think it would have been cooler if you could have an aim that's more like over the shoulder-esque, because to me it breaks the flow, if that makes sense. Like, it feels kind of tedious that I have to open up the camera in order to use the glove, but all in all, I do like the idea. In any case, we take our new glove for a spin and shoot down the Spirit Eater holding Double H hostage, which will evidently reward us with a pearl.
You alright?
They turned my brain to jelly.
Are you our contact? Are you Double H?
Not sure.
Does the iris mean anything to you?
Listen here, Miss Thyris.
Jade. My name is Jade. And I haven't the foggiest how we're gonna get out of here.
For that, I may be of some assistance there.
So you are Double H?
Double H, Triple Z, whatever pleases you, don't ask me. All I know is that in another 10 minutes, I was a goner. I owe you my life.
Hence, you can count on me, Miss Thyris.
Jade. My name is Jade.
At your service, Miss Jade Thyris.
I thought this was pretty funny that he would not stop calling Jade Thyris. Anyway, we quickly make use of our new companion. Footnote, Carlson and Peters are the writers of a manual for the Hylian army, which Double H references quite frequently throughout the game.
Miss Thyris, don't worry, everything's just fine. I'll find a way out of here.
We make it back to the beginning in one piece just to come face to face with the Reaper.
Hang on, Jade! Jet boots attack! Jade, need help!
During this boss fight, I did take a few hits, but after I realized it's best to just constantly aim at the Reaper, as the creature will try to defend itself from the gyro disc hitting its eye, which will kind of stun lock it and give us the upper hand. We free pey'j and the Reaper falls to its death.
Thanks, Jade. I'd have ended up on a silver platter with an apple in my mouth if it wasn't for you.
Shut up. You're making me hungry. I'm gonna regret saving you.
Again, this conversation also makes me question the anthropomorphic animals in the game. Do they eat anthropomorphic animals as well? Is killing them manslaughter? Do they have to have a certain level of awareness to be part of society and not be dinner? So many questions, but I digress. After we are done philosophizing the morals of living with anthropomorphic animals, and consuming meat, we go straight to the electrical room. Here we can also use our gyro disc launcher on the ceiling fan to get the electricity to the other side.
Gonna need a special key, Jade.
In order to turn the machine off, we need this special key card with a triangle on it, but as we are about to take it, we once again get ambushed by robots. Worry not, with a well-timed super action, we take the little guy out. We grab the key we needed, and when we go to turn the machine off, some other robots show up. This fight pey'j is not that useless, as we can take advantage of his super action, play pool with the robots. After the robots have been disassembled, we turn the machine off and get the 2 fuses that it is housing. Back at the elevator, we insert the fuse and connect the cable to the electric fence.
Pey'j, I found a power source.
Okay. Don't know if it'd pass any government inspections, but we'll know soon enough if it works. Looks like it's working, Jade. But it's a real patch job. Not gonna hold long.
Finally, take the elevator up. But it crashes once we arrive at the top.
This doesn't look very good.
By the way, Jade, here, this came for you the other day. Better have a look at it.
Why didn't you tell me sooner? It's probably a mission.
Yeah, probably. Sorry. But with everything going on lately...
We perfectly timed the button push with pey'j. We are met once again with the sarcophagi from the beginning, but we already know how this dance goes.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
Not too bad, sugar. Without you, I'd be smoked ham by now.
As we proceed, we split up with pey'j and sneak through the vent. We arrive at the X-ray verification, which we will learn in a second why it is called that. Yes, you saw that correctly, there are human bodies in the crates. We hear some disturbing sounds from where we left pey'j and we hurry back.
I'm coming!
Go away, you fraggle shit! Out!
In order to follow pey'j, we push this box to reach the opening of the gate and shoot a gyro disc at the button to open it. This took me a moment to figure out, as I didn't realize that you could activate buttons with the glove. After we are through, we check out the disc pey'j gave us at the elevator.
Jade, you inherited generosity and courage from your parents. You know, I think about them a lot. We were very close friends. 20 years ago, we were forced to separate because we were all having some major problems with the authorities. Your parents put you under my care to save your life. We came to Hillis. Back then, it was a peaceful planet. I had hoped to raise you there safely. But the conflict spread. Now, you must know something. If I was able to get here, it was thanks to the Beluga, the spaceship that I designed and built with your father. It still exists, but I haven't exactly finished getting it back in top shape. You'll find the checkup report on my desk. The Beluga is at our place. You have to enter a code into each one of the consoles to open the secret hiding place. I can't say any more on this M-Disc about it, but I hope this information will be useful to you if, one day, you have to use the Beluga. No matter what happens, good luck, Jade. Uncle Pey'j.
We go in this vent, and we get to the shipping room where we enter our first stealth section.
Miss Tyrus! There are guards all over the sector. Whatever you do, don't get caught. We'll meet up a little further along.
I gotta be honest, I'm not very good at stealth segments. I get impatient quite a lot, and on my first playthrough I think I misunderstood how the stealth in the game was intended to be played. And my focus was more on trying to kill the Alpha Section guards. Like, isn't this entertaining? Anyway, we managed to pass the guards one way or another, and we meet up with pey'j once again, where we help him through these fire vents. In exchange, we can have him turn off the lasers. We move on and execute another few sets of guards, and we get to the closet. Here we swiftly pass to the Natroplis vat. Natroplis vat. Here we get swiftly past the Natroplis vat. I don't know how you say it. We get rid of another guard, and at the nearby closet we find Pey'j's boots.
Pey'j's shoes. What have they done with you?
We then put these laser robot machine devices through the ringer in a few quick hits. As we move on, we are met with another couple of acrobatics courses, more killing, more sneaking. Until we grab onto this crate and jump onto the conveyor belt. As we continue on our mission, we encounter this lovely gentleman.
Did you see the Alpha sections? Look at their faces, they're no longer human. They're controlled by the DOMs. We must inform the entire population of this. Quick, send a picture to the Iris network. I'll continue looking for a way in.
With the dashing Alpha Section guy, our report is complete. After some more stealth or whatever, we get to the loading dock.
Calling all guards. Continue looking for the second intruder. The pig has been captured. They're bringing him in now. Your Excellency. The problem has been taken care of. My best men have found and neutralized all of the intruders. Everything's under control, Your Excellency. I'll take care of this minor detail myself.
Close hatches. Cast off moorings. Okay. Lift off. Destination, the slaughterhouse.
This boss fight is not particularly difficult either. After Double H arrives, we just have to hit the creature's legs simultaneously and then shoot the pearl inside. You have to repeat this a couple more times, but after that, the creature is dead.
Pey'j. They've taken Pey'j!
If it wasn't for you, it would have been me they took for a free ride in one of their luxury coffins. Turn ticket not included.
I'll find you, Pey'j, no matter what. Hang in there.
Picking up our reward, last objective is just to get the fuck out. We get back pretty quick to the room where we found Double H, and from there, it's a clear path to the exit.
Is Pey'j a member of the Iris Network?
Could be. Don't ask me. All I know is how much he meant to me. Looks like you're finally getting your head back together again. You back with us?
Getting there. But my head is killing me. The machine gave my brain a good scrubbing.
We jump into the hovercraft, collect the pearl from the Reaper that we were not able to access before, realize the entrance door is closed. Use Double H for his intended purpose, insert the other fuse that we have thoughtfully gathered, and boom.
It works. Double H!
Miss Jade, oh, this thing is eating up my insides. I can't hold out much longer. The boys from Iris, they might be able to do something to help me. It's my only hope. Get me back to Iris. I'm begging you. I can't breathe, Miss Jade. I'm connecting to my auxiliary circuits, but they won't hold out very long.
After Double H's cardiac arrest has been addressed, we are tasked to take him back to the Iris network. On our way, I immediately run into a mine, but we still have more than enough time to make it to the Yakuta bar and even listen to the protesters for a bit.
Nino! May! Quick! Double H is with me! He needs help!
Double H reporting for duty. The Alpha sections have taken possession of the... They shoes at your service.
Hub!
May, we have to give him our last dose of antidote.
Hub, can you hear me? Say something.
His pulse is dropping rapidly. Prepare the injection.
Lefties, from your friend in exchange for your soul.
May, quick! We're losing him!
I'm here, Hub. You're gonna be all right. Hang on, it's almost over. Thanks to you, Jade, Hub is safe.
He's a fighter. He'll be okay. He'll be back on his feet in a couple of weeks. Friends, I believe Jade has just shown us an amazing demonstration of courage.
Nice work, kid.
Good. Now come have a look. That's where the victims are taken. That's where they've taken your uncle, Jade.
The old slaughterhouses.
Your next report.
Jade, your last report from the factory had a large impact on the population. The Hylians have spontaneously shown their support.
Can I just quickly point out how the lady that voices the science center lady, the governor, May, like she single-handedly voices every single female character other than Jade? I wish I could give a normal shout out, but I'm not really sure who she is, as everywhere it just says additional voices. I suspect that she might be Christine Flowers, as I think the rest of the group is presumably male. I was on the fence about Andrea De Luca, but then I thought about it for a second and I realized that it might be Andrea as a masculine name. Moving on, after we get bombarded with pearls, our next objective is to get to the slaughterhouse.
I'll be back to check up on Double H.
WWTAO. We work together as one.
Carlson and Peters, page 823.
This feels kind of rushed to me, to be honest. I would have enjoyed going around Hillis and doing some quests solo. I would have loved to do that while Double H recovers. His recovery is also so fast. I don't know, the pacing felt a little bit odd to me here. It would have been a good section where the player can connect a bit more with the Jade and do some potential side quests or explore. Before going to the slaughterhouse, I head into this door that we can now open with our triangle keycard. There are these locked doors around the pedestrian district that you can usually open as you progress through the story. These are nothing peculiar, usually just parkour courses or stealth segments, but in the end you get rewarded with one or more pearls. This one starts off as more of a parkour course. Most important thing in this section is I impulsively change back Jade's clothes to the original. Pearls secured, lots of sneaking, but this part might be one of my favorites from the stealth sections. I couldn't resist. After exiting, I decide to spend all of my money on cosmetics for Double H.
Account identification, okay.
This has become a pattern, I fear. I check out the door that has the square key, but this one only has a locker. However, I do not have the code yet, so I will have to come back to this. After that, I wander around the pedestrian district a bit more and make Double H break these iron bars. Through here, we get to the Alpha Section's warehouse. Again, more sneaking and or killing. This warehouse is actually one that I also enjoyed quite a lot. I really like these spinning lasers. After that, more lasers, more pearls, and we skedaddle. After we get up with the elevator, we are jump scared by some soldiers from the Alpha sections. These subway surfer sequences are one of my favorites throughout the game. Unfortunately, there are only a few of them. We meet up with Double H once again, and we head to the Mamago garage to get the jump kit for a hovercraft. This way, we can jump over these red laser borders and head straight to the slaughterhouse races. We get some info from our friends at the Iris Network that racetrack number 3 is where we can slip into the slaughterhouse. But first, the races themselves. Racetrack number 3 features my favorite song once again, so of course, we eat them up. We take W and the pearl, and we head to race number 4. These races can be done pretty easily. I remember when I was younger and playing this, I was struggling with race number 2. But now I felt like all races could be done really easily. Maybe I just didn't know how to use the booster back then. But to be fair, I think all races can be completed without using any additional items. Because there are like these boosters around the map. And I think that is plenty. With race number 4 done, we have completed all the races the game has to offer, which is such a shame because I would have loved more races. Side note, you can repeat these races whenever you want to, like any of the 4 races that you want. I just feel like repeating them would not be the same as having a whole new race to do, if that makes sense. Now back to race number 3 and into the slaughterhouse. I actually really enjoy the fact that you have to get to the slaughterhouse through a racetrack. It's such a fun and creative idea. It feels very immersive. As soon as we arrive, we are hunted by a robotic spider-looking thing, but we make it out of there. We drop down to this puzzly segment where you have to use these torpedoes to explode the mines, but instead I use the boxes to try to explode them, which is a bit more tedious, but we get it done. Moving on, a little more sarcophagi action, and we open the gates in order to pass through with the hovercraft. Then we sneak through the lasers, little agility course for the hovercraft, and we have almost made it. We get to the entrance gate that we open, however, once we are through, it closes behind us immediately. We will need a code from the governor, but she says she needs more proof. No problem. We head on deeper into the slaughterhouse, we fight some more and solve some more puzzles. I actually only realized this on my second playthrough, that you would have to shoot the button from the other side in order to open the gate and not try to make it to the hovercraft as fast as humanly possible. But anyway, we push on, do a little more parkouring, a little fighting. She would be able to fit right through. We meet up with pey'j, we make him get a concussion, deactivate Alpha Section soldiers, and we go to the central hall. Bit more fighting with the baseball robot, we get a pearl, a second triangle key.
I'm going to need a special key, Miss Jade.
We can give one of them to pey'j.
10-4.
piece of cake after all.
At officers' school, we do that in the 3rd year.
I have a lot of questions. Number one, how dare you?
In this next segment, make pey'j push the button as he is able to pass through the lasers because of his Alpha Section suit. Then all we have to do is just maneuver around them. I really enjoy this segment as well. I like it when companions do more than press Y to smash. After that, we arrive at our first photo op.
The picture for the report. I'll stay here and keep an eye.
But first, we say bye-bye to the soldiers, take a picture of the people getting transported, and with our first photo done, we head back to the hovercraft and get to the next one. Well, here we get separated from pey'j, which means stealth segment. I really enjoy this part where you make the Alpha Section guy go into the electric current. Please don't psychoanalyze me. Also, another favorite of mine is this foggy sneaking part. I really like this too. I would have enjoyed more like this. This is the only time where we experience a sneaking segment such as this one. Next, we need a fuse to get the elevator going. However, it is currently live, so we go ahead and give the electric box a nice little tap. Fuse in, and we take off. We get some more robot and electric fence action. And after a bit more sneaking, we grab a pearl. Another fuse moment where we have to pat the electric box and grab a fuse while it's not active. We take the elevator once the fuse has been removed. More sneaking, more electrocuting Alpha Section soldiers, and after one last stretch, we meet up with pey'j and make it to our second photo op.
Transit through. Go ahead. I'll cover your back. Don't forget to take a picture.
Here, we see people boxed up being transported. We gain more and more proof of the human trafficking conducted by the Alpha Sections, and now we only have one more photo op at the slaughterhouse. We ask for some moral support from pey'j, to which he tells us to stop slacking, and we are off to the third and final observation point. Making our way in, we concuss pey'j and we double down and ram him into the soldier as well. By now you know the drill. We separate from pey'j, we sneak some more. However, in this third section, I find sneaking the most enjoyable out of the three. I may have just grown more patient, I'm not sure. Or maybe I have just realized that these sections are much easier if I'm not focusing on constantly making the Alpha Section guys fly away. We pocket another fuse and we make our way upstairs. Oh, never mind, I'm still killing them. We grab the pearl, use another Alpha Section guy as a foot massager, and we push on, kicking some more fuse boxes, and we get jump scared by pey'j. Oh my god. We move on together, and I found these trilobites to be one of the most challenging enemy types, as there are so many of them, and it takes a second to get into the flow. This fight is much easier with the combat upgrade you can get at Ming-2's, which lets you shoot at the enemies while performing a charged attack. If only I spent my money on something useful and not just cosmetics. It's pretty OP, but we managed to get rid of these trilobites without it. Here, pey'j is pretty useful as he kills a good few of them himself. However, I did hit him a couple of times myself, I'm not gonna lie. We get separated again, more stealth, obvi. And I really enjoyed this next part as well. You just shoot at the breathing tanks of the Alpha Section soldiers, and they kindly jump to their demise. Very helpful, guys. Before taking the picture, we get rid of these guys that are blocking the view. Grab the fuse, and that is all 3 photos done. The governor sends us the code to the gate, and we are ready to depart once we have gathered pey'j. We jump into the hovercraft and we are out. Entering the code, the gate opens, Ta-da!
The governor's taking a lot of risks by helping us. I hope we can pay her back one day.
And as we're leaving the slaughterhouse, we meet another Trichosaurus serpent. But we take care of it, of course. Francis tells us he has a new pearl, which I'm delighted to hear. However, he says he has practiced more. Okay, Francis, we'll see about that. As we are making our way to the Ikuda bar, we see more and more people protesting against the alpha sections, just as we are releasing more and more nasty stuff about their involvement with the DOMs. We play Francis for the pearl. I'm not gonna lie, he did practice. If y'all are gonna let me cook for a moment, I do beat Francis pretty fast and we are richer with one more pearl. Back at the Iris Network headquarters, we finally meet the governor in person.
Ah, Jade, Double H, perfect timing. We've been waiting for you. There's someone here that would very much like to meet you. Governor, please allow me to introduce you to our...
Yes, we already know each other. Through email.
Your help has been a great service to us, Governor.
Without those codes, we wouldn't have been able to do anything.
I am overjoyed to finally be able to meet you face to face, Jade. Your reports have had a large impact on the population. Just a little more effort, and I'm sure we'll be able to count on the support of all Hylians to rid our planet of the Alpha sections and the DOMs. Here, this will be useful in continuing your fight.
Thank you. This will help us find those that have disappeared, if it isn't already too late.
However, in the meantime, we get a distressed call from the chief of the Iris Network.
The chief, he's alive! It's incredible!
Your chief? Had he disappeared?
Taken by the Alpha sections. We haven't heard anything from him for weeks.
Wild boar calling Iris! Wild boar calling Iris!
Hey, that's my uncle! Pey'j!
Your uncle? Our chief?
He communicates with you by radio?
Security measure. Until now, nobody knew his real identity.
Pey'j, is that you?
He can't hear you, Jade. Quiet, everyone. He'll call back. Don't make a sound.
Wild boar calling Iris! I don't have much time. They're everywhere. They've taken me to the moon. Here are my instructions. Get this message to Jade, your new reporter. Read the M disc that I gave you and find the ship. Read the M disc and find the... They're coming! Ah!
He gave you an M disc?
Just before they kidnapped him.
Listen, Jade. This ship is essential. It's the missing element from our plan. If you find it, we have a chance to succeed. Pey'j is being held prisoner on the moon, probably with the other victims. You have to go there. Nino has a plan. Here's what we'll do.
They use a long-range transmitter to broadcast their propaganda from the moon. We can strike them where it hurts by broadcasting your reports on their own screens using this long-range transmitter.
That's an excellent plan. You find Pey'j's ship. You go to the moon. You wrap up your report. You take control of the transmitter. You broadcast the report. The population rises up.
And that's the end of the Alpha sections.
What does Carlson and Peters think?
They say that it would be suicide. But I say, when the going gets tough.
That's right. Not only has pey'j been working with the Iris network this whole time, but it turns out he is their chief. This makes sense given his pirate origins and his hostility towards the Alpha sections throughout the game. We grab the pearls that were donated by the kind people of Hellas, and we prepare for our next and biggest mission so far, going to the moon. Francis taunts us with another challenge, and we take him on. After our triumph, we gain access to the chest next to the pallet game table, from which we receive a copy of the same game. We need lots of pearls to get all the upgrades from Mamago Garage, so we get right on it. Also, you do not need to grab all the pearls in order to be able to get the necessary upgrades to be able to go to the moon, but I will show you how to get all of them anyway, because I thought it was fun. First, we purchase as many pearls from Ming2 as our wallet allows. We'll come back for the last one at a later time. We go and get the pearls from the Alpha Section's HQ that we can access with the star-shaped key the governor gave us. This part is mostly stealth as well, however I enjoyed this section too, as the stealth felt more linear, if that makes sense. I'm not very good with optional stealth because I will most probably not choose that option. This part did take a few tries for me to figure out the pacing, but once I went slow and steady, it was very manageable. We loot the Alpha Section's pearl stash and we are off. The game teaches us how to forward roll because it is not something we have been doing this whole entire time. After the lesson on forward rolls, we come face to face with General Keck.
Lost, sweetheart?
Another chase sequence I love. It's very cinematic, very action-packed.
Don't break up the team. Carlson and Peters, page 823.
In the end, Double H pulls us out of the trouble, and General Keck essentially lets us go.
Lead us to an even larger prize.
For now. Our next stop is the transit. This is a very fun level as well. Lots of parkour on the conveyor belts. In the end, we grab the pearl and exit. The chest in the shed can be unlocked with a code given to us by this desperate person in the Akuda bar. We learn that he has most probably lost his loved ones due to the human trafficking conducted by the Alpha sections. However, we don't take his help for granted as we swiftly input the code for the chest in the shed. I take a break from pearl hunting and get back to the lighthouse to shed light on the beluga, as we will need it for some of the pearls. There are 2 boards with the plans of the jet boots pey'j used to wear. We can push on these, which reveals 2 terminals where we can input codes. The codes can be found on the soles of the boots. Pretty clever, pey'j! We put the codes in, push the big red button, and lo and behold, the beluga. Here I grab a rusty knife with a code on it and the beluga checkup disc. Code on the knife belongs to a chest, conveniently next to the desk from where we picked up the knife. Here we get 2 more clues for our treasure hunt and the disc. Let me highlight that this treasure hunt is part of the 20th anniversary edition. It just offers some background info on the lives of our protagonists. On the first disc, we learn about Nox, who may sound familiar as he appears in the trailers of Beyond Good and Evil 2. The theme of these anniversary treasure hunt discs is pretty much an introduction to some of the characters that we have seen in the trailers to the second game and their relation to Jade.
Right. Pey'j, I trust you'll keep these M-discs safe for Jade, and know when the time is right to tell her about us. To show her these drawings I made, so she can see her pirate family as I see them. You're much more reliable than a certain chimp we know, eh? Reckless, he is, but that's Nox for you. Lost count how many times we found him passed out in the crow's nest. Wouldn't really have it any other way, though. He always has your back. Getting us out of jams is, well, as much as he gets us into them. And no one made Jade laugh more than him for all the stunts those two pulled. Me and Jade was just playing around, Dax, he'd say. Only he could get away with calling me Dax. I'm sure we'll never know the half of their monkey business. Comes down to it, though. Nox was the heart of the Garda, a rebel to a fault. When you tell Jade about him, tell her about all the fun times they had. Tell her about how he showed her to see the good in people, all kinds of people. And Pey'j, remind her, despite what Nox says, that rusty blade he gave her for her birthday is not to be used as an eating utensil.
Now we get on with our priority, that is the beluga. The checkup disc tells us that it needs 2 flight stabilizers. One is yet to be installed, and the other one we have to get from Mama Goes. So we head there right away to grab the second stabilizer. However, as we are leaving Mama Goes, we see that the lighthouse has been destroyed.
Double H! The lighthouse! They've destroyed it! The kids!
Quickly, Miss Jade! There still may be time!
Pablo?
We get there as fast as we can, but the children cannot be found.
Jade, the alpha sections may still be there.
Double H! They've taken the children! Anybody here? Umi! Zaza!
Wolf comes to comfort us, and Jade projects her disappointment and feelings of shortcomings onto him.
Poor Wolf. I know how you are. You tried to help them. You told yourself that you wouldn't let them come to any harm. That you'd be there to protect them. I know, boy. But that isn't what actually happened. The kids are gone. And you couldn't do anything. You're here, alive and well. Who do you think you are? Did you think you'd actually be able to make a difference? Well, Wolf, you were wrong, boy. Completely and utterly wrong. There's nothing anyone can do. There's nothing anyone can do.
We must go now, Miss Jade.
It's over, Double H. Finished.
They're still alive, Miss Jade. Pey'j, the kids, they're all still alive.
Double H's words got through to our desperate heroine, and the stakes just got even higher. We get ambushed by these flying robot things. I did not enjoy fighting these, as this is the part where I felt the gyro discs to be kinda clunky to equip at times, but eventually we do demolish them. We get back to the beluga, grab the other flight stabilizer, and take it for a spin. Of course, we encounter another serpent as we are about to leave. The sequence is pretty fun too, as it is our first fight with the beluga. Flying above the whole area feels pretty cool. Also get a pearl from the serpent. Nice. Next up, we go to the Looter's Caverns. There are 4 of these in total, and the gameplay here is pretty straightforward. We get into the cavern, the looters take 100 units from us, we chase them down, blow them up, and get our money back, and then some.
Shoot him, Miss Jade! He won't be able to get away! Show no mercy! He's caught in the trap!
The difficulty comes from the track having several timed sections where if you are not quick enough, a gate closes in front of you, leaving the looter free to go with your money. There are also various obstacles, like lasers, mines you have to avoid in order to be able to speed through the track. To my knowledge, you cannot get rid of the looters before reaching the final part of the track. However, you are able to aim and shoot at them. In the end, your only task is to blow them up. The first 3 can easily be done on the first try. However, what I found most difficult was the 4th Looter's Cavern. I mean, duh, they're increasingly harder in difficulty. There was a gate that took me a couple tries before getting it down. But with a bit of finessing, we get all 4 pearls. I love the looters, but my biggest problem is the game doesn't really direct you to encounter them organically. Like, the game itself is so linear, I never felt the need to explore until now. And doing the 4 looters caverns back to back feels so badly paced. This might be a me problem, like with the races as well. I feel like these side jobs or side missions would have been so cool if they were naturally woven into the already very linear story. It would have been nice to have an indicator of some sort that encourages you to explore freely and makes the pacing of these side hustles better. Like the way they kind of mention the races. Pey'j and Jade talk about them so you know that they exist, even before you are then directed to go through the races, particularly Racetrack 3, which is very naturally woven into the story. I was expecting something more like that when it came to the looters. I also really liked how the Subway Surfer chase sequences were implemented naturally into the flow of the game, like robbing an Alpha Section's HQ will probably not go unnoticed, so I was kind of thinking something more like that, but I digress. My next stop was getting to the Vorax's lair. Here we find a bunch of enemies, and we chase down a Pearl Crochax. Given its name, we do receive a pearl upon its passing.
Respect the home team, Chapter 12. I'm glad you're on our side. Crochax, Miss Jade. He's getting away with a
Next up, we're infiltrating another Alpha Section's quarters, where we see another Pearl Crochax. We clean up the path with the robots and make our way to the Crochax. Fortunately, it brought back up and we get 2 additional pearls. I go back to the main canal and grab a pearl that is hidden in this box. As I'm nearby, I stop at Mingzu's and finally grab the super attack boost. For my next stop, I go to the Black Isle to enter its volcano part that Mo suggested. Here we find a bunch of Crochax that give us a bunch of pearls. So many that at this point we are only 2 pearls short of getting all of them. The one at Mingzu's and the one that you get from the Science Center for finishing your 6th roll of film. Easy peasy. Okay, I reload the game and Double Age is free, fortunately. So pictures! I go to the Black Isle through the normal entrance and actually get almost all of my photography done here. Since I am here, I check out our next stop at the 20th anniversary treasure hunt. I put the code in and I receive the best loot in the whole game. As you have probably noticed, I'm all for cosmetic and cosmetic items. Well, here you receive the best outfit for Jade in my humble opinion, the pirate outfit. I get the clue, the code, and the disc. On this disc, we learn about Yashin and how she taught Jade how to fight. Yashin is also a focal point in the trailers.
Remember the first time Jade put on that pair of goggles Yashin gave her, pey'j? They were too strong for her poor little eyes, so she kept bumping into things and mistaking you for Nox. I was so thankful for Yashin, my first mate, for keeping the Garda shipshape and keeping you lot in check. We didn't always see eye to eye and sometimes butted heads. She questioned my decisions and was never afraid to speak her mind. But her loyalty was stronger than titanium. A pirate warrior never backing down. Jade was so scared of Yashin at first, but she quickly saw past the hard shell. She came to admire her and look up to her. For her confidence, her convictions, her devotion to us, her family. Tell Jade how she pushed herself to be just as strong. How her grit and determination come from her. How Yashin would make her practice her combat skills over and over till there was no weapon she couldn't master. Jade had the bruises to prove it too. And you and me both worried, but we had no reason to. Jade should remember that. Yashin gave her strength and the will to fight when there's no other choice. And pey'j, you know as well as I, we did all we could to keep Jade away from that fight.
The developers ate with this outfit. I'm obsessed. A few more pictures and leaving the Black Isle, I immediately take a picture of this whale thing and we are done! Pearl received. Last stop is Mingzu's. I grab the pearl and with all of them secured, we receive the Yo Pearl Pearl game. It is unlike anything we've played before in the game, but it's a pretty fun minigame. You control 2 pearls, and you have to avoid the borders and the obstacles. Didn't play a lot of it, but it is a nice addition. We head back to the Akuta bar for the next part of the treasure hunt. Get another pretty cool cosmetic from the chest, the Gata-inspired spray paint for the hovercraft. We quickly put the disc in the decoder player, and we learn more about Uma.
Out of all of us, my dear Pey'j, you know Uma the best. I know how much she means to you, and I hope that without her there as your anchor, you're doing okay. Not only was she Jade's Auntie Uma to your Uncle Pey'j, but she was the whole Garda's guiding light. I remember the sheer panic the crew fell into every time something unusual happened with Jade. How such a curious and wonderful creature Jade was to us. Her body growing up and out in all directions. I swear, every day was an adventure and a crisis. We were lucky to have Uma with us. Not only for Jade's many, many, many questions, but also for showing her a path to tranquility with those graceful motions of meditation. Uma helped us to not only understand Jade, but to help Jade understand her true self and to love it all. Though it pains me to think back to Uma's struggle with her personal demons, those bad spirits of the past, as she called them, her gift to Jade brings me comfort and hope. That beautiful interconnected web, that catcher of dreams. Jade inherits from her Auntie Uma a way to fight our worst nature when it rises up, and to chase away those deformed demons lurking in the shadows. I'm sure her gift must be a precious reminder of your cherished Uma, and a talisman for Jade's future, far from the darkness. Uma was a teacher to us all, a protector, and a friend. Pey'j, please be that for Jade.
Okay, back to the Black Isle volcano to get the last part of the treasure hunt. We get matching spray paint for the beluga, a compass, and of course, a disc. In this disc, we learn about Callum.
I could always tell Callum had a special place in Jade's heart. And I was always so amazed, maybe even jealous, of his patience with her. He was one of the few who never treated her like a helpless thing, but as an equal. I remember them sitting for hours on end, locked in a game of chess, staring each other down with such quiet intensity, each one strategizing. Jade would always favor the night, Callum's birthday gift to her, making it easy for him to anticipate her next move. Wasn't it Primera Pey'j who told Callum to be an indulgent dad and let Jade win on occasion? It took everything in his power to let Jade take his king, but seeing her wide grin as she screamed, "Checkmate!" made it all worth it for him. Callum was a strict mentor, but strangely enough, it was Primera, an AI of all things, who taught him how to be a father figure to Jade, as I am her mother. Though I don't want Jade to get the wrong idea, look, make sure you tell her, Pey'j, nothing happened between us. I'm just glad their bonding happened over chess and not Callum's preferred games of chance. We both know what that would have led to. One time betting the Garda is certainly enough. But if not for his engineering skills, I would have been a captain without a ship. It was thanks to Callum and the Mamogo clan that our crew had a ship, a place to call home. And it was thanks to him that you and Jade had the beluga to fly to freedom. I know, when she holds that night, Jade thinks of Callum, of the chess matches, the lessons, and the tough love.
Fun fact about Callum is that he appears on his own Beyond Good and Evil statue with Nox, which is so weird in my opinion. He used to sell for $399, which is fine. It just feels like they wanted to market it as like a cool guy protagonist and his monkey companion. I don't know, it feels so random considering that Callum only appears in this one singular trailer, especially with the statue's description on Ubisoft's site. Like, we do not even see the two of them interact. However, we do see Yashin and Nox get into trouble as they are a focal point in the trailers. It would have made more sense to feature them on the statue, no? Feels like they were afraid to put a POC woman on the statue, which again is so weird as they're so okay with marketing the trailers with her. Like, she's literally on the thumbnail of the video on the website introducing Callum and the statue. I guess a cool self-insert type white guy still sells more. But the statue looks really good quality-wise, like I cannot complain about that. But yeah, super weird choice of marketing in my opinion. Now, where were we? We are ready for our final mission, the moon. We go to Mamago's, grab the needed stellar motor, and we're off.
Algenib, Omega Dipper, Alther, we're surrounded by stars, Double H.
We get to the transmitter without any issues, and we quickly make our way in. We take the elevator that conveniently must be operated with 2 people standing on the pressure plates, and we are in the Dom's base. Here we're faced with my favorite puzzles in the whole game. I wish they added more like this. It's just so fun and feels so tactile, and it's just really good. It is not particularly something that we haven't seen ever puzzle-wise in the gaming history, but it is a really nice addition in the game. We have to direct the light that is bouncing off of the mirrors in order to clear our path forward. It is not a hard puzzle, but I really enjoyed the interactions having to rotate the columns. It felt really fresh in the context of the game as we did not need to do anything similar throughout the story. Once we have directed the light as needed, we find pey'j trapped. Again, same idea, we have to direct the light in a way that it hits the columns. Also got this very satisfying clip from my second playthrough, so I will show that instead. We quickly get the walls down and make Double H free pey'j.
10-4! 10-4! 10-4!
I'll come back for you. I'll bring you back home.
Shawnee, it's incredible. We just got an email from the chief. He's alive, Jade, alive.
Pey'j! Very sneaky, the whole code under the shoe pit.
You found them? You didn't screw up my settings, I hope.
They're exactly as I found them. Stench and all. Pey'j, you were...
Dead, I know. But you saved me. You're the one that brought me back to life.
Pey'j tells us that Jade has some special powers that are only now starting to come to the surface. It was because of Jade's powers that he came back from the dead.
And you're starting to understand it.
Pey'j, the kids, they...
Yes, I know. Kidnapped too. They've taken them to the Great Crypt. The only way to get there is by using the landing strip. We'll have to come back in the ship, but we can't do anything for them right now. There's too few of us. We need help in order to attack the lunar base in full force.
The only way of obtaining the support of the Hylians is to follow Nino's plan, wrap up the report, and use the long-range transmitter to broadcast it.
However, we must keep going and get the report ready. After taking the elevator, we get rid of these two guards and we are in. We make it down to the Great Crypt, where we see General Keg talking with the High Priest.
You need me just as much as I need you, Your Excellency.
The priest tells Keg to capture Jade, or as he refers to her, Shawnee. We grab Pey'j and pey'j, and we are making our way to the transmitter. After a bit of parkouring, we open the gate that conveniently requires 3 people to open.
No problem.
We successfully make it to the transmitter, however, we need the governor's help one last time to get the transmitter working.
You have control?
Transmitter alignment. Set target. Okay, enter data.
It's up to you now, Jade.
Okay.
Data not recognized. Protected system. Locking. 10.
They're blocking the controls.
9. 8.
No problemo, Jade. I take care of that.
6.
Amigos, Segundo el Magnifico is going to show you who is the best.
2. 1. System blocked.
Nice job, Magnifico. More like Secundo el Major Screw-Up, King of the Cretins, Pope of
Silenzio, my little piglet. Look.
Opening system data. Hello, General Secundo. At your service.
I have una amiga who would like to broadcast a little report. Set up an alignment on 2.1.3, por favor, mia bella.
Yes, sir, General. Data loaded. Broadcasting.
Has reared its ugly head on your planet. With help from those traitors from the Iris Network, our enemy, the Doms, have broken through our protective borders and infiltrated your city. Enough is enough!
Amigos, señores, señoras, y of course, señoritas, keep open your eyes, si tutti quanti. I no going to be wasting your time with big speeches. I just wanting to show you the whole big picture. Los Alpha Section are traitors, banditos, impostors, rascals, wooden nickels. Look at these photos that we have taken. The Alpha Sections are the accomplices of the Dom's forces.
The Alpha sections are the ones who've been kidnapping the Hylians and taking them to the Doms. Once the victims arrive on the moon, they're drained of all their energy and die.
Since the beginning, we've been manipulated and deceived. Stop listening to the lies that the Alpha sections are telling you.
Down with the Alpha sections!
Down with the Alpha sections! Revolution!
Secundo comes through for us, and we manage to get the report transmitted, which results in a full uprising at Hillis.
The kids are still on the Dom's base. We have to go back for them.
For the time being, we'd better evacuate the sector.
Nice strategy, soldier, but a bit late. Goodbye.
Auto-destruction procedure engaged.
After that, we get a time section where we have to make it out in 1 minute 30 seconds. The timer works a bit weird because it goes from 1 minute 5 seconds to 5 seconds, then to 59 seconds. That's okay, we make it to the Beluga in time, and it is time for the showdown with General Keg.
Come into my parlor, said the spider to the fly.
Tractor beam activated.
This part is really fun as there were not many fight sequences with the Beluga. Sometimes it's pretty difficult to dodge the laser beams, but it's fairly easy to get the fight done if you just shoot with the cannon that locks onto the target. Keg's vehicle down, we still have to make it inside to turn off the beam that keeps the Beluga there. We torpedo the mines, beat some guards, and we make it to Keg.
What were you hoping for, huh? Everyone you ever loved is already dead. Your mother and father, the pig, and all those little brats. We've sucked them dry of all their fluids so that we could live longer. He's looking for you. He's been on your trail for centuries. Your days are numbered. May the angels of darkness rise to glory.
He drops some interesting lore as his last words. We learned that the reason for the abductions was to suck the life out of people in order for the Alpha sections to live longer. We also learned that the High Priest has been looking for Jade for centuries, and he mentions the Angels of Darkness. However, as for the Angels of Darkness part, I could not find much info on what that means precisely. If/when we get a release of Beyond Good and Evil, we might learn more about that. As of now, we can only speculate. My interpretation as of right now would be that the Alpha sections are the Angels of Darkness, as they are under the command of the High Priest. I see it would make some sense for them to refer to themselves as the Angels of Darkness. Maybe there is more to it. Feel free to let me know if you have any other theories on this. Anyway, we free the Beluga and we are ready to go.
We have to get back to the base. All the prisoners are still in there.
I also find it kind of interesting that Jade decides not to share her interaction with Keg with the others, as if she's afraid of their reaction or she feels shame. We get jumped by the Alpha section's ships, we shoot down some of them, and the people of Hillis arrive to help us. We land, make it inside, and we are in the finale.
My companions.
You have served your master well, Shawnee. You alone have brought the Hylians to me. They have followed you blindly.
Miss Jade?
Dorthgal Parkan.
Ah! It's a trap! The controls aren't responding anymore!
You are not who you think you are. The pig has hidden your origins from me.
Jade, no! Don't listen to him!
You are the source of my powers, the instrument of my strength. They took you away in the hope of destroying me, but I have survived, feeding me with only the most miserable of sacrifices. They made you human, but you are not like them. You are mine, Shawnee, and I am going to kill the human part of you.
Jade!
Turns out the whole mission was a trap, and we have led the Hylian people to their demise. The High Priest drops some disturbing lore about Jade, hinting at the fact that they have a past together and that Jade was not human originally. In addition, he keeps calling her Shawnee. For now, let's put the lore aside and save the world. This boss fight starts out fairly easy, dropping some of our sarcophagi friends right at the beginning. We know the Tango, easy. We try out the strengthened super attack, it works like a charm. Next we get a few hits in the High Priest himself. Next phase is nothing new either. We super attack with double age and hit the pey'j clones at the crystals. You actually don't have to break all the crystals, just enough so you can take your aim at the High Priest. The priest captures double age, and now we are left to deal with the leader of the Doms alone. This is where the fight gets a bit more difficult. The High Priest spawns around you, at which time you must hit him in order to avoid getting hit, or he spawns above you, in which case you must dodge his attacks and then take a hit at him. This sounds fairly straightforward in theory. However, if you mess up once, there is a pretty high chance that he will stun lock you. Essentially, you have to be dodging constantly to avoid taking damage and hitting him at the given times. I managed to get out of the stun lock as I do have quite a lot of healing items still, so we are good to go to the next section. The High Priest spawns a bunch of double age clones. However, they can pretty much be taken care of in one go with the strengthened super attack. Just keep spamming the attack button when Jade is in the air and it's pretty much an insta-kill.
You're losing control of your spirit, Shawnee. Shawnee Opakan.
With the quintuple ages finished, we get to the worst part of the boss fight. It is essentially going to be the same thing where he spawns around you, however this time the controls are reversed. That's right, forwards is backwards, left is right, right is left. I struggled so much with this part. Until I decided to take a break and see what tips they have on Reddit. Turns out my understanding of the fight was wrong, as I was thinking more damage based, like, I don't know, let's say I have to hit him 10 times to deplete his health. Pretty regular way of combat in games, but no. Here, there is a specific pattern in which he appears that you have to get right without getting hit, or the pattern repeats. Like, it's not about the damage, it's about getting the pattern right. After being obliterated by this freak countless times, this was such a huge revelation. I logged in, memorized the pattern, and it took me no time and the fight got done easier than ever. So that was that. The ending is very inconclusive in my opinion. Like, what is Jade's origin that Pey'j kept secret? Jade was presumably evil as she was working with the Doms under the alias Shawnee. This pretty much gets confirmed in the trailer for Beyond Good and Evil, where she shows up with 2 Alpha Sections guys and rushes at the pirate crew. It may also be a reference to Nietzsche's Beyond Good and Evil, serving as an example that there is more to things than them just being strictly good or evil, as Jade portrays both a good character in this game and presumably a bad one in the second game. He who fights with monsters should be careful lest he thereby become a monster. And if thou gaze long into an abyss, the abyss will also gaze into thee. Could be an interpretation of Jade and the High Priest's relationship? I don't know. I am not an expert in this field, so I will not be dissecting this part further. However, the game leaves a lot of room for speculation. Once again, if you have any idea, theories, let me know in the comments below. As the camera pans over the ruins of the lighthouse, we see some recently developed pictures with some of the members of the Iris network, pey'j, pey'j, Jade, the kids, and of course Wolf. So it is safe to assume that the Hylians were saved, but there are many lingering thoughts about Jade's past. We get one last cutscene with pey'j. pey'j develops a nasty eczema. The end. With this ending, I feel like they were obviously hinting at a sequel of some kind. However, what I wonder is, when we were escorting pey'j to the Iris Network's base, when he collapsed, he had a very similar thing on him that May was able to heal. So hypothetically, would they not be able to heal pey'j's rash? If they can, what's the weight of this? Is it that even though we killed the High Priest, the Doms are still present? With so many questions unanswered, the game ends with a need for more content for me. As of the state of the second game, I am not sure if/when we will ever have these questions answered. But what about the pirate compass? What's with that?
Mother...
This girl is the nastiest skank bitch I've ever met. Do not trust her. She is a fugly slut.
Yeah, I forgot about the treasure hunt before going to the moon. Remember when I said keep in mind that you can only have one manual save file? Yeah, I have overwritten it when I was already on the moon and I was not able to go back to the lighthouse. But anyway, here is the clip. We finally see the Kini, supposedly Jade's mother. If what the High Priest was saying is true, and Jade was not in fact human before, I am not sure if we're looking at an adoptive mother or if they are blood related, but nevertheless, she would be considered Jade's mother. In this last message, she doesn't really tell us any new information. It's more like a closure type message. She just says she loves Jade and so did the whole crew. So now that we know everything about everything, is Beyond Good and Evil a good game, or was I just a kid? Well, both, kind of. It has good elements, however most of them end up being quite shallow gameplay-wise. When I was a kid, I appreciated this game on a surface level for what I could perceive at the time: the atmosphere, the amazing creativity for world building, the characters, the environment, and that was enough. Today, while I do appreciate the game for those things still, I cannot help but look at it with more critical glasses. No, it is not a bad game by any means. It did deserve better than to be sold with mozzarella cheese, but it does have some things where it fell short for me. So let's start with the things that tickled my fancy the least. Take everything with a grain of salt as we are talking about a 20-year-old game. I feel like my main concern comes gameplay-wise. I really enjoyed things like the minigames, races, puzzles, chases, so much, and I feel like they were featured the least. Puzzles were also somewhat lackluster, as the most engaging ones were usually a one-time thing, whereas I would have enjoyed more tactile puzzles. Most of the puzzles were kind of repetitive. They were mostly just make way here, bridge this gap, kick this, kick that, and so on. I feel like the fact that they wanted the story to be hyper-linear also didn't really help, considering there are many areas the game kind of expects you to explore in the world without telling you. So the game is faced with this juxtaposition of ideas where on the one side it's extremely linear and story-based, and on the other side it expects you to find these hidden, explorable areas. All in all, I also would have enjoyed more well thought out side missions that are not always just stealth-based. With that being said, what the game actually offers is pretty good. Good driving, the camera aspect is very creative, fighting usually feels pretty smooth, especially when Jade does these directional attacks. The story overall is kinda mid, but it does offer some pretty intriguing themes, especially about Jade's past. Corrupt law enforcement, rebel organizations, and so on. However, the fact that the game doesn't answer any questions in this game, and the second game has been in development for over 15 years, is a bit of a letdown. Some smaller things I really liked were the conversations you could have with the NPCs, really adds another depth to the characters and the story. Same for the day and night cycles. I really like the way you type the codes in. I liked the inventory. I really liked how you could manage your companion's inventory as well, like giving them health items, extra health, or quest items when it was necessary. As I have mentioned several times, the music, the vibes, the characters, the designs are all exceptional. It is a pretty good package if you ask me, with an incredible amount of creativity and ambition if you don't look too deep below the surface. I would still recommend it if you like early 2000s games, or if you like games with similar gameplay, but it just leaves you with this feeling of unfinishedness. At least it does for me. Hi everyone, if you made it all the way to the end, I wanted to say a few words before the video ends. This is the first time I'm tackling a project quite as big as this one, so if you like it, please let me know in the comments or by liking the video. If you would like to see more parts of this series, feel free to subscribe or follow me on Twitch to be able to follow along with the gameplay if you wish. I would also like to mention that I will be replaying this game in the future, as it is part of another project I'm working on where I'm playing every game in my Steam library. So if you're interested in that, thank you for being here, and I hope we will see each other again soon. My first job released in... Am I recording? God, I thought I was streaming. Oh god. So the Supreme song, and she receives development for with the. We get a paid, and the all of our hair after our first cost to check treasures. We take a look at Minsu's. We take a look at Ming. What a coinky dink! Arriving at the factory ends. We get a cool glove. We receive quite frequent. Plancher. Back at the elevator. His recover. Most important thing we will need a goat. We can give go. We play. Another cheesy thing and gap it. And you have to avoid the border. We have to direct the light that is